نحمده ونشكره على هدايته وعلى كمال الدين وإتمام النعمة علينا أن هدانا لولاية علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام، ثم الصلاة والسلام على حبيبه وصفيه سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin with congratulation on the anniversary of the Eid Al Ghadeer, that our ahadith from our ai have stated that it's considered to be the greatest Eid and the most significant in Islam. The anniversary between today and yesterday, that millions of Shias around the world have celebrated it, whether they are from the majority Ithna Ashari or Zaydis or Alawis, or even the six Imams in both of their designation, the Ismailis and the Bohras. They all celebrate Eid Al Ghadeer, and in one way or another. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the privilege of being among the true followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam and Ahlul Bayt. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today I have perfected your religion for you, and I have completed my blessing upon you and chosen Islam as a way of life for you. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 3, but this is literally from the second half of the verse. According to Quranic commentators, this particular verse was revealed as the Prophet was delivering his final sermon during the last pilgrimage, Hajjatul Wada. The dispute is exactly where was it delivered? The Sunni commentators maintain that it was Mount Arafah that this verse was revealed, and the issue of ikmal and itmam, the perfection that this verse talks about, is due to the prohibition of certain foods in the earlier part of the verse. The problem with this kind of interpretation is that there are other verses or other passages in different chapters of the Holy Quran regarding prohibition of food. So the notion that somehow the prohibition of food becomes the source for completion, ikmal and itmam, is a little far-fetched. But I'm not here to enter into discussion and debate regarding the authenticity of their claim. It's just simply to state that that's a point of view, that this verse was revealed during the presence of the Holy Prophet in Mount Arafah, only to indicate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has perfected the religion due to some legal and juristical law that prohibits the food. The Shia, on the other hand, they state that this was revealed during the Ghadeer Khum. As the Holy Prophet concluded his sermon, and the famous sermon and lengthy one, then this verse, and appointed Ali to be his successor, then this verse came to indicate that with the appointment of Ali as a successor, then the faith is complete. And they indicate that what this verse is trying to say is that the faith that began by Iqra from Jibreel, and the responsibility to, with that Iqra, that came prophethood to the Holy Prophet, Prophet Muhammad, and ultimately had to reach its perfection with another Imam called Muhammad, which is our hidden Imam. It had to be able to make a provision for the transition that takes place after the demise of the Holy Prophet, and the continuation of the message until the coming of the next Imam. That transition is the critical factor that has been listed in it has been listed in the issue of Ghadeer. Al Ghadeer is an instance in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the Holy Prophet that you have to appoint Ali as a successor, so that the transition from the prophethood to the leadership that comes after remains in the same context as the Holy Prophet himself, both theologically, politically, spiritually, juristically, legally, and the knowledge about the faith itself. After the demise of the Holy Prophet, for this faith to be able to continue its function and ultimately reach a point where it would reach the top or the height of the pinnacle of its civilization, we need that transition to take place smoothly and easily. If we pay attention to the same verse, اليوم يئس الذين كفروا, the ones that disbelieved have despaired from your religion. If it was purely in the context of prohibition of certain foods that previously outlined in other verses and chapters of the Holy Quran, what is it so special about it that the disbelievers are despairing about certain? It doesn't fit the context. What the Shia scholars identify, that the theme within Ghadeer Khum was the institution of leadership, the transfer of the institution of leadership to someone that was most capable socially, politically, intellectually, spiritually, and could be assumed as a role model for the community. If you look at this extensive sermon, let me begin by at least giving a brief story about Ghadeer Khum. During the last year of the Prophet's life, a message, the Holy Prophet sends a message to the disciples and the Muslim community that I believe my time has come to an end and soon I will be departing. And hence I have decided to go for pilgrimage, which is the farewell pilgrimage or Hajjatul Wada. The fact that the Holy Prophet framed it in this way, that I'm going to depart soon and I need to do Hajjatul Wada, created the zeal and the encouragement for people to congregate and to say, well, this is the last opportunity and we need to be with the Holy Prophet and benefit from his presence, as well as the privilege of being around him during this journey. Historians claim between 80,000 to 120,000 people joined in. So they go to Hajj. Amir al-Mu'mineen at that time had been given the responsibility to go to Yemen and lead the community over there, and actually came to Mecca during the Hajj period and stayed with the Holy Prophet. On the way back to Medina, as they were moving forward, they reached a particular place, an oasis that called Khum. Ghadeer in Arabic literally means an oasis, a place where there is enough water for the travelers to stop, and naturally where there is water, there is vegetation, and in the middle of the desert, that becomes a famous place. I believe it is still available, or it's still there, but it's less of developed as it was in the past. There's still recently the Saudi government has actually sent a delegation with a caravan to go to Ghadir, and it is now sent on website and WhatsApps and everything else. This is the place where Amir Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was appointed, or officially appointed by the Holy Prophet. So we are beginning to see a tectonic shift in the approach between with regard to the whole Ghadir issue. The Holy Prophet reaches the oasis of Ghadir, commands everyone to stop, sends somebody, an emissary, to go forward, those who have been going through fast to come back, and those who have been somehow fallen behind, for them to come back and wait for them to arrive. Once everybody was there, or almost everybody was there, he commanded Salman and Abu Dhar, and points to a tree, that you go over this tree, which is slightly on a higher level, higher ground level, and create a member, a podium. How can we create a podium? Salman and Abu Dhar found 2 trees in the area, connected between the 2 trees with some cloth material, and under it they removed camel saddles and put them together and created an elevated stage for the Holy Prophet to deliver the sermon. It is one of the most extensive sermon that the Holy Prophet delivered. Unfortunately, that sermon has been truncated by the Sunni scholars. Only bits and pieces of that sermon is narrated. The Holy Prophet first starts by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the privilege that has been granted to him for this Hajj, and begins by asking people to say yes or no, whether they would consider the Holy Prophet to be the authority over their life. Alastu awla bil mu'minin min anfusihim, which is the verse in the Holy Quran. I am the authority over the life of the Holy Prophet more than themselves. And then he goes through this process of asking them to admit, and finally lifts Ali's hand, Man kuntu mawlah, fahada aliyun mawlah. Allahumma wala man walah wa adi man ada, etc., etc., etc. Whoever, I am the authority, and I am the one which commands, then I appoint Ali to be in the same position. What happened immediately after? The Holy Prophet takes an ammama, the black ammama of his, which is the sign of authority again between the Muslim community, and puts that ammama on the head of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and asks him to sit in the middle of a tent that he organizes for him, and ask everyone present to move into the tent and swear allegiance and bay'ah to the Holy Prophet, to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Even his wives, meaning we have famous comment by the second Khalif Umar, بخن بخن لك يا علي أصبحت مولاي ومولى كل مؤمن ومؤمنة أو مسلم ومسلمة. بخن بخن. The phrase, the structure of the sentence, the narrative clearly indicates authority. أصبحت مولاي ومولى كل مؤمن أو مسلم ومسلمة. Even his wives had to go and swear allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen. But how would they do it? The male would shake his hand. The females, any woman within Muslim community, there was some kind of a container or a pot of water, where Ali puts his hand on one side, the same way that they swore allegiance to the Holy Prophet. And they would put their hand on the other side of the pot in the water, and this way they swear allegiance. Among those whom the Holy Prophet insisted to go in despite her resistance was Aisha. To go in and swear allegiance to Ali. So the context of Ghadir Khum simply does not tally with what later on the Muslim community, when they began to construct history, they reduced it to purely Man kuntu mawla fahadha aliyun mawla. Mawla means only a friend. And unfortunately, what has happened since then, the whole argument has been reduced to this single word, mawla, whether it means a friend or whether it means authority. And both communities have been bogged down into or remain stationary into no, it means authority, no, it means value. Totally ignoring the other contextual and situational evidence and facts that there was nothing. The mere declaration that Ali is my friend or my cousin and so on has been stated in a number of other ahadith, frequently before Ghadir. Why Ghadir in itself? If you refer to Al-Muraja'at, which is a debate between Marhum Sayyid Abdul Hussein Sharafuddin, a Lebanese scholar, and one of the, I think, Shaikh Abdul Salim, which was Al-Azhar, leader of Al-Azhar. The debate between him, these two scholars, centers on a number of issues. One of them is the issue of Hadith al-Ghadeer and Hadith al-Thaqlayn. And Marhum Sharafuddin outlines why the notion that this is just the whole thing was organized purely for the Holy Prophet to indicate that Ali is my friend doesn't make sense. It has been translated into English and other languages, but the original book was in Arabic. Please read it if you get a chance. So the result of this was that if it was purely for the sake of friendship, why was the attempt on the Holy Prophet's life to assassinate him on his way back to Medina after Ghadir? What we have as later on became Ashra Mubashara includes first Khalif, second Khalif, third Khalif, as well as Muawiyah and few others. These were the people, go back to the assassination attempt by quote-unquote Sahaba on the life of the Holy Prophet, and read the list of names that exist. If it was purely some benign concept of friendly relationship, that Ali is my friend or my family, why the assassination attempt? Assassination attempt makes sense when they wanted to remove the Holy Prophet before he gets to Medina and facilitate a smooth and orderly transition into the new leadership. Why, when the Holy Prophet sends Osama to go back and fight the Shams with the soldiers and so on, with the army, and he says, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ خَالَفَ أُسَامَةَ. This is from the Holy Prophet. Yet, the first Khalif and the second Khalif, they refused to go. One of the professors at Oxford University has a book called Muhammad, The Succession to Muhammad. I believe his name is Meldlong or something. The first chapter of the book that focuses on Abu Bakr says Abu Bakr was planning to remove the holy Ahlul Bayt from authority way before Muhammad's death. I thought he's come up with something new. Then I decided to search, and within the kalam and the saying of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi, he says the same thing. During the time that he was year 37, when he was a Khalifa, somebody comes to him and says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, this is the question. If the Holy Prophet had a son, and the son was mature and in an age where could be trusted as a leader of the community, do you think Quraysh and Arab would have been dealing with the son of the Holy Prophet as they dealt with you? He said, yes, they would have dealt exactly the same, unless he did exactly as I did. Otherwise, they would have killed him. And after that, I'll show you, inshallah, after the hadith that I found this morning. He said that these people, Arab hated the Holy Prophet for the revelation, and they were looking for an excuse to get rid of Ahlul Bayt and for them to come to power. Now listen to this, if it wasn't beneficial for them to mention the name of Muhammad and stay with his authority, they would not have submitted to the command of Allah even for one day after the demise of the Holy Prophet. The result of what they did was that the Ahlul Bayt was gradually marginalized to the side, and generations that grew up with Ali being everywhere. You ask for Badr, the name of Ali. You ask for Uhud, the name of Ali. You ask for Ahzab, the name of Ali. You ask for Khandaq, the name of Ali. You ask for protection of the Holy Prophet, again, the name of Ali. You ask for Khaybar, a name of Ali. So the generation that constantly they use, according to ahadith, they used to put their children on their shoulder, and as they pass the Holy Amir al-Mu'mineen in the market, they used to tell their children, you see this? This is Ruknul Islam. When you grow up, I'm going to test you. If you love him, you are of the right descent. If you don't love him, your asl is questionable. That suddenly you reach a point, alaykum salam rahmatullah. You reach a point when Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi says that we were completely lost and left out, that people would not even recognize Ali anymore as they passed. This is no wonder during Muawiyah's time when Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred, they said, where was he martyred? Mihrab? Did Ali pray? The power of marketing and publicity that started from where? With the first Khalif. The first Khalif, the new so-called power comes in charge. What does it do as a seerah of this? Burn the entire ahadith about Ahlul Bayt. Abu Bakr burns them, Umar burns them, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud burns them, Uthman burns them, etc., etc., etc. Deliberately. Hasbuna kitabullah. Why? Because by wiping out ahadith about Ahlul Bayt, and particularly about Ghadeer, the importance of Ghadeer and everything else to it, then it is easy for them to deny and say, well, to construct a house of cards that rests on three fundamental principles. Number one, the Holy Prophet didn't appoint anyone. Number two, Abu Bakr and the Muslim community in unison they were fearful for the future, they decided to elect somebody. Number three, even if we were to admit that there is a hadith called Hadith Ghadeer, the notion of Man kuntu mawla fahada aliyun mawla is removed. Hadith al-Thaqlain substituted for it. Yes, he said, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين والثقلين كتاب الله والسنة. Even itra has to be removed. Now, after 1,400 years, the fact that we still have the name of Ali being mentioned, the name of Ahlul Bayt being mentioned, the name of even the Holy Prophet being mentioned. Remember Muawiyah, when they went to him in a hadith, they said that he swore, he said, as long as the name of Muhammad is mentioned on the menorah, I do not feel comfortable. I have to wipe it off. That was a deliberate policy of removing Ahlul Bayt and even the Holy Prophet. Islam is reduced to purely superficial issue. Prayer is there. But on the day of Ashura, soon you're going to have Muharram. On the day of Ashura, people pray behind Umar ibn Sa'd and they call Hussein ibn Ali kafir. Or Imam Hassan, he's kafir. It's part of that deliberate, constructed policy. So the Holy Prophet didn't appoint anyone. Everyone agreed that they are going to have a new Khalif. Nothing about burning of Zahra's house and kicking of the door and all these historical events. No, even to the point where Amir al-Mu'mineen, as soon as Umar came to the front of the house, he came out with his serval running towards the mosque to swear allegiance to Abu Bakr, and left the Holy Prophet on the floor for somebody else to deal with it. It's strange that Amir al-Mu'mineen says that this, the plan for takeover, so to speak, was instigated and laid down way before the death of the Holy Prophet. This is where Maidlung talks about it. It says Abu Bakr was planning a takeover way before the death of the Holy Prophet. Ghadeer simply states that this prophethood, this message, the deen that started with the wahy, Iqra, to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, that ultimately is going to reach its pinnacle under the leadership of another Muhammad, has to transition from one Muhammad to preparing the ground for another Muhammad. And the only person that can prepare the ground for another Muhammad is Ali. Seals the first phase and begins the new phase. But even when he came to power, al-Mu'mineen Aisha, Muawiyah, Khawarij, and everybody else started the fighting and the war, never giving him an opportunity to be able, with a peace of mind, to deliver the ultimate objective of his own proper leadership. You get to the stage where there is no mention of Ahlul Bayt. That's why Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq begin a new approach, an intellectual approach for the community to be reborn. When now Ali Ahlul Bayt begins to have a role as a role model and for them to play within the society. It's not just about Mawla, whether this Mawla is one or the other. Let me make it clear that because of the intransigent of those who primarily say it is Mawla as a friend, 1,400 years, thousands of books have been written, clearly indicating that the context, the verbiage, the language, and everything else clearly indicates that it's not a friend, it's something else. Much more critical, much more profound. Is talking about leadership. We are still, today, after 1,400 years, we're still, as soon as the word of Ghadeer being mentioned, Mawla means friend. Or don't say anything about it. A friend of mine was saying that they went to Umrah a few years ago. They went to Medina. And during the time in Medina, they decided to speak to Imam of the mosque. He was telling them about various places around Medina. One of the sisters over there asked the Imam, what about Ghadeer al-Khum? You haven't mentioned anything. He immediately stopped the conversation. He said, you don't mention Ghadeer here. It has to be marginalized. Nobody knows anything about it. The hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen regarding this, إن العرب كرهت أمر محمد وحسدته على ما آتاه الله من فضله. They were envious and they hated him. وأجمعت مذ كان حيا على صرف الأمر عن أهل بيته بعد موته. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. وأجمعت, they were unanimous, this group of people, وعليكم السلام. This group of people, they united to prevent Ahlul Bayt from getting to power. ولولا أن قريشا جعلت اسمه ذريعة إلى الرئاسة وسلما إلى العز والأمرة. If it wasn't, then the name of Muhammad and Islam would serve them so that they come to power and remain in power. لما عبدت الله بعد موته يوما واحدا. They wouldn't have submitted and worshipped God, not even one day. So it wasn't. Now today, when you look at the articles, being even academic articles, they present as if suddenly, after the demise of the Holy Prophet, the society divided itself into two groups or went through a schism. And that's the beginning of Shia and Sunni, etc., etc. No. What we are talking here is a fundamental worldview difference between one group and the other. One group that is prepared to gloss over the attempt to destroy Islam under the banner of Islam, and the other, which is with Ahlul Bayt. Ashura says the same thing, says we are prepared to pay with our lives for the sake of that transition. For the sake of proper transition from the Holy Prophet into the hand of somebody who deserves to be the leader of the community. And you listen and read Khutab Imam Hussein salawatullah salam alayhi as moves out of Medina towards Mecca. He talks about leadership. He talks about justice. He talks about Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. He talks about the fact that if these people remain in power, فَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ السَّلَامِ. There's nothing will be left of Islam. As there was nothing left of Islam even then. Amir al-Mu'mineen, ألا وإن when he comes to power, he says, ألا وإن بليتكم قد عاتت. The same mentality, the Jahiliyyah mentality that you had before Islam has come back to dictate, with the only difference is on the superficial banner of Islam. There is no idol worshippers on top of Kaaba. You pray, you fast, but under Muawiyah. It doesn't matter who's the leader, Muawiyah or Ali, Yazid or Hussein. A society that is prepared to live with contradiction, kill Imam Hussein, and next year go to Mecca with Abdullah ibn Umar. Ahl al-Kufa, they went to Abdullah ibn Umar. Is it okay if we were to kill a ba'udha. What is a ba'udha? Mosquito. If we are in Hajj, if we were to kill mosquito, what would be? This is the Hajj of the same year that at the beginning of it they killed Imam Hussein. Abdullah ibn Umar, despite his hate for Ahlul Bayt, he began to cry. He said, I found you people strange. You just 9 months ago or 10 months ago killed Imam Hussein, and now you are wondering about whether killing of a mosquito is permissible or not permissible in Hajj. A society that lives with contradiction doesn't see any problem. Drink alcohol and then go to the to McDonald's. Is this halal or haram? Gamble and then go to the chicken shop or meat shop and say, "Is your meat halal or is your meat?" Or a restaurant, is it halal or haram? They see no problem moving from one to another. That was the society of Jahiliyyah, and this is the early Islam, as a consequence of the hate that they had. Ghadeer was removed. Now we have to pay the consequence until Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman comes, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraja, inshallah, and fixes things. And that requires 313 individuals that they submit to the command of the Imam. And so long as that's absent, we have to wait. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides that, well, we are going to wrap it up and bring back the Imam, but you are not ready to receive the Imam. So the delay is our part. We are not ready to receive the Imam. Imam is supposed to be the leader that would lead the society forward. If the society is not prepared to submit to the command of the Imam, as they were not. Few 18th of Dhul Hijjah, year 10 after Hijrah. About 2 months later, the Holy Prophet dies. Immediately, Saqifa starts, and the entire Muslim community, apart from 5 people, Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, and few others that remain steady. Everybody else, they wanted to live. The issue of Ghadeer is critical for us, at least. Please spend some time reading about it, because you will be dealing with people that would use the narrative of no appointment. People chose unanimously, and even Ali signed for it and swore allegiance. And nothing mentioned about Zahra, nothing mentioned about anything else. Allama Amini writes a book about Al Ghadeer. Original Arabic version was 20 volumes. Now has been translated to English, nearly 40 volumes. The first volume, nearly 300 pages, specifically focuses on the concept of the word wali in the Arabic literature, and proves without shadow of a doubt that wali here does not mean friend, it means authority. But anybody listens? No. Because it doesn't suit them. If you accept this narrative, then the house of cards would collapse. The story says a child was taken to school, the old type of school, so the Shaikh would tell him, say Aleph. He said, no, I wouldn't. Say Aleph. No. The parents came in, said, well, what's the problem if you were to say Aleph? He said, because if I say Aleph, he says, say Ba. And if I say Ba, he says, what about Ta? I might as well stop it at the Aleph and don't go anywhere. That's the position we take. No negotiation, no argument, nothing. Holy Prophet didn't appoint anyone. Ghadeer is a fiction of the mind of the Shia community. And even if they admit, like Sahih Muslim, it's fabricated version of it. And Ali ran to swear allegiance immediately. It was a unanimous decision. Well, inshallah, we have a list of questions for Ashura that has to be a little bit polished, and we will make an attempt to connect between the two events during the first at least few nights. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.